Okay, we're trying this again. I apparently have really bad internet connectivity, so it's really possible that this may not work. But we're gonna try it. So this is my second take at trying to go live. Technically my third, because actually I I went live at mile 10 of a half marathon that I did a while ago. And hey, how are you? Is it I've known you for a while, and I don't know, is it Tanya or Tanya? Hi, Sandra. So I went live at mile 10 of a half marathon, and it was probably the worst idea that I've ever had in my life. Hi, Jessica. Hey, Missy. Oh, Missy girl, what's up? And so anyway, so that was my first try at going live, and then the sad attempt that you saw probably 30 seconds ago was my second try, and it was sideways, and it was a mess. Plus, I have apparently bad internet connectivity. Hey, Diana. So I am celebrating Tanya. Okay, that's what I thought, but you get live and you start to question everything. Well, hi, Tanya. So I'm here celebrating the release of Outlaw Part 2. For those who don't know, Outlaw is the second book in my Harrison Street Crew series. It is a car club book, which is sort of like motorcycle clubs, but kind of has a Fast and the Furious twist to it. So it's got street racing, and it's like Sons of Anarchy meets Fast and the Furious is kind of how I describe it. And Outlaw follows the story of Patrick and Michelle, who you meet in the first book, Ex-Con. And so I thought I would do, hey Danielle, I thought I would do a hopefully kind of quick reading from Outlaw. And I'm trimming it because I'm afraid of spoilers. Ooh, that's casting a nice glow, huh? Oh, you're reading Outlaw 2 now? Hey, Stacy. Hey, how are you? And so I'm cutting out a lot of spoilers from it. And I'm going to adjust the brightness on my iPad, because as pretty as this glow is, I don't know if that's quite working for me. All right. So if you see me sort of pause while I'm doing this reading, it's probably because I'm like self-editing. Hey, Deborah. All right, so off we go with the reading. Gravel crunched behind her with heavy footsteps. She spun around, not really sure who to expect. There was no way Charlie had made it there in less than 15 minutes, and even so, she never called back. But there, walking toward her, wiping his hands on a rag, was Patrick. Because her life wasn't freaking complicated enough as it was. His body tensed up as he saw her, too. The moment suspended them in time. Michelle? He asked, sounding just as surprised as she felt. What the hell are you doing all the way out here in Newton? She asked. Well, nice to see you, too. His gaze fell to her car. What have you got there? A flat tire? Answer my question, Patrick. What the hell is a Southie boy doing all the way up here? He paused, shaking his head with a sigh. Then he held up a set of car keys, jingling them between his fingers. I had to get another key cut for my Pantera. She slammed the car door, glaring at him. How stupid did he think she was? Michelle took a deep breath and closed her eyes. The memory of how his hands felt on her flesh was so potent that she could almost feel his touch. You can't be here, she said, stepping back. I need you to leave, now. I didn't even know you'd be here, he said. I was just here to resell some spare parts for the garage. She arched an eyebrow at him. Thought you said you were getting another key cut for your car. He cleared his throat, covering his cough with his fist. Yeah, getting a key cut and dropping off parts. None of this changes the fact that we can't be seen together, Michelle said. Patrick gave her a look. Are we really not allowed to even have a conversation? I'm suspended. I technically still work for the DA's office as the chief ADA, And they're still technically prosecuting you. He pulled his hands back, clenching one onto his hip while the other rubbed across his eyes. Jesus, I didn't do it. Michelle caught her bottom lip between her teeth, stopping herself from agreeing with him. Even a simple "I know" or "I believe you" could be what cost her her job. Let me at least switch your spare tire for you. I'm here, I might as well help, Patrick said. She shook her head, resisting an eye roll. It's an awfully big coincidence, you being here as my tire goes flat. Yeah, he said, it is. Look, my brother always had this policy that he would pull over and help anyone on the side of the road, and I like to carry on that legacy for him. Helping damsels? Michelle asked. He turned to her trunk, throwing it open. Chiccarini, you are anything but a damsel, and you know it. She smiled at that. His dimples deepened just before he turned his attention to her trunk. Where the hell is your spare? He asked. I don't have one. He muttered a curse under his breath, slamming the trunk. Maybe you're more of a damsel than I thought. He moved to his own car. In a swift movement, he yanked his shirt off, leaving him in a sleeveless undershirt that highlighted tan skin and some muscles. Big muscles. The sort of muscles that Michelle had been hoping had turned soft and flabby in the few months beneath those preppy polo and button-down shirts he always wore. Then maybe she could have resisted staring. Then maybe she could have gotten him out of her damn thoughts and dreams already. There was a sheen of sweat covering his skin as he grabbed a few things from the back of his car and walked to her with a spare tire around his arm. Oh no, did I freeze you guys? Sorry. I'm going to keep reading. He bent down, hoisting the flat tire up. Michelle admired him secretly, trying to pretend like she was checking her email on her phone. But damn, that body was sexy. Real muscles, the kind that came from long days working with your hands. What the hell was it about a guy who knew cars that was so damn hot? The speed at which he was able to change her tire was impressive. When he finished, he stood up, brushing the dirt from his knees. Propping up her flat tire, he angled it toward her. You know much about tires? He asked. She shook her head, and before she knew what was happening, he was beside her, her tire still in hand. Look, he said, pointing at her tire. There's not a single issue with this tire. No cut or hole that I can find. It doesn't mean that there isn't one, but usually when a tire is this flat, you can see a nail or a tear or something, but you were missing the air cap. I lost my tire cap, she asked. I don't think lost is the right word for it. He glanced down at her, his mouth dangerously close to hers. Those things are made to stay on. Only way this tire went flat is because someone let the air out. And they wanted it to be slow. It's hard to concentrate when I'm getting all of your messages popping up. And they wanted it to be slow. Otherwise, they would have just slashed your tire and have been done with it. Why would someone do that? Could just be some dumb kid, Patrick said, but his mouth was tight as he offered that weak explanation. Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Patrick shook his head. I can take this back to the garage for you if you want. Make sure there's no hole, fill it back up for you. No, that's okay. I'll have Charlie do it. He nodded, opening her trunk and setting the tire inside. Grabbing the bottom of his sleeveless shirt, he pulled it over top of his head almost purposefully, as if he knew what he was doing by standing shirtless in front of her. And holy shit, if she thought his arms were muscular, his torso was something straight out of Hollywood. Using his undershirt, he wiped the grease and dirt off his hands. And this time, Michelle couldn't avert her gaze. She couldn't look anywhere other than that six-pack and those tight pecs and the small pebbled nipples that she wanted to scrape her teeth against. I feel like I should be charging admission, he said, rousing her from the gutter. Shit. He was done, just standing there watching as she gaped at him like she was 13 and had never seen muscles before. A blush warmed her cheeks, and she forced herself to look back to his face and not wander anywhere south of his neck. There was a static pause as he stared back at her. And with that look, her inhibitions dropped. She stepped closer to where he stood, ramrod straight, arms folded, veins pushed out against the flesh of his flexed biceps, and she was nearly powerless to stop herself as she reached out a hand and brushed her finger over his bare skin. She'd simply assumed he was already flexed, but the second her hand touched him, the muscles grew firmer beneath her fingers. His sharp inhale made her nipples tighten viciously. Oh, I said nipples on Facebook, y'all. "I still think about you," he whispered, brushing his mouth against her ear. His breath was warm and minty and caused a chill to descend her spine. Before she could respond, he dipped his chin, brushing his mouth gently over hers. "We really shouldn't," she moaned. But even though the words protested his actions, her body welcomed them. She arched into his hold as his hands found the small of her back. With the tiniest tug, she was pressed against his body, and that gentle kiss became hungrier. Brutally, she took his tongue into her mouth, diving her hands into his curly hair. Corkscrew. A voice came from behind them, and Michelle gasped. Reality washed over her. What the hell was she doing? Clutching Patrick Flanagan and making out with him in broad daylight? The severity of her situation slammed into her like a punch to the jaw. She shoved Patrick away from her as he gave a humorless chuckle. She pressed her fingers to her lips, clamping her eyes shut before opening them to examine the owner of the voice behind Patrick. "Sorry to interrupt," the man continued. "Here's that check for Rig. You be sure to tell him I'm happy to keep doing business, okay? I promise I won't be skipping out on any more payments." Michelle's throat dropped into the hollow pit of her stomach at the sight of this man. His face was swollen and bloody. A black eye was forming against his puffy eye socket, and his lip was split. Blood trailed down the side of his face, and he walked with a limp, dragging his left foot behind him. Patrick's eyes fluttered closed, and he grunted a curse before reaching out to take the check from the man. Jaw dropped. Michelle couldn't believe what she was seeing. Couldn't believe that she almost fell for this man's lies. For his lines, again. "You did this to him?" she whispered. Patrick didn't say a word. He just stared at her, a different kind of intensity hardening his features. When he didn't answer her, Michelle pushed past his shoulder and walked over to the bloodied man. "Did he do this to you?" she asked. The man licked his lips nervously and looked back and forth between Michelle and Patrick. "It's okay," she said, as reassuringly as she could. "I'm a lawyer, and if he assaulted you, I can help you." "Oh, no," the man answered quickly and stuttering. "I had an accident earlier this morning. Corkscrew here helped me out by bringing me in some parts." He was lying. It was so obvious. But she couldn't force him to tell the truth, to press charges. Michelle shook her head, spinning to face Patrick. "Stay away from me," she said, pointing at him, "or I'll get a restraining order." A smile flicked at the corner of his mouth. "Babe, in order for one of those to work, you need to stay away from me." And that's it for now. So that was a brief excerpt from, or maybe not so brief, I don't know, from Outlaw, which is book 2 in the Harrison Street Crew series. And, oh, hey, Amy. So many muscles, I know, Tanya. And yeah, that's for sale now. The third and final installment of Outlaw will be out next Tuesday. So if you want to wait till they're all out, I understand, I feel ya. And the entire book will be out as of next week. Oh no, Missy, this is why I'm the worst. So yeah, and I'm guessing some of you tuned in because you know, or you saw that I'm going to be giving away this cute little Coach wristlet. And I'm gonna hold off because I want some people who maybe couldn't be here for the actual live reading to be able to come and check it out. And all you have to do to technically enter is, you know, leave a comment, which all of you have done, so you're off to a good start. And you have to like my Facebook page. So I'll draw a random winner. I'll probably do it tomorrow. It's probably plenty of time to let anyone who wanted to see it check it out. And I don't know if anyone had any questions. Hey Daniel, have you always been interested in cars? How did you do your research for this book? Hey Sharon, I mean, I like cars, but really it's my husband who's really into cars. He actually just bought a Datsun, a 1970 something Datsun. I don't know what it is, but the car that Patrick drives in this book is a De Tomaso Pantera, and that was like his dream car if he ever could afford one. That is the car he wants. And I did my research. Well, Sean helps because he knows a lot about these types of cars and 70s muscle cars. But when I lived in New York, I up the street from me in Brooklyn was a car club, and I used to walk by them every day. And they were super nice. They're not as kind of scary as, yeah, Sharon, he's totally a car geek. The car club on the street where I lived, they weren't that terrifying. I mean, maybe if you crossed them they were, but they were always really sweet to me. And so that's kind of where that came from. Tanya, who was/is your inspiration for Patrick's character? I don't really know. That's a good question. I feel like I have a very clear picture in my head who he is. And I don't think it's anyone that I know in real life. Maybe like somebody that I crossed paths with way back in the day. Like I can see him. But I don't know. I mean, I've always been kind of a sucker for a goofball. Someone who's really sarcastic and makes me laugh. I know my husband makes me laugh. But if he was compared to Patrick, he would probably be really upset because he likes to think himself as more badass than that. I don't know. I might have to get back to you on that one. Diana, hubby and his built a rat rod. What is a rat rod? You're going to have to tell me what that is because I actually don't know. But that's really cool that they go to Nevada to race cars. I don't know where you're from or if that's a big trip for them, but that would be a really big trip for us. Hey, Maggie. Maybe he's a cross between people you know. He must be. Like, he must be a composite character because I don't know. I think I just love a funny guy. And it was a nice contrast to kind of how kind of hardened and bad boy the rest of the club is, because a lot of the club is pretty dark, and so he's sort of the humor in the group, or he always has been. But as you come to find out in Outlaw, it comes from a darker place, and it's covering up a sad past. And his kind of life motto is because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Yeah. Oh, brother-in-law. Duh. Thanks, Diana. So I think that is about it for now. I don't see any other questions. I saw that Danielle had asked earlier if that photo of me in the snow, if I had left my backyard, and the answer is no, I did not. I mean, I left the backyard to the front yard to shovel, and that was about it. And even that I only did a short period of time because Sean handled the rest of the shoveling. So I guess that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. I hope you liked it. I think it's a really fun series. I've been really excited for the Harrison Street Crew for a long time. I wrote these books, feels like forever ago, probably 1.5 to 2 years ago. And really excited for you to get your hands on them. And, I just found out you got 14 inches. Where are you from, Diana? I don't know where we're at right now. I think we're supposed to get up to 20. What was I saying? Hey, Bridget. Bridget said she thought that she meant Patrick was inspired by my brother-in-law. No, not inspired. Although my brother-in-law does have dark curly hair and he is kind of a goofball, so maybe, but that feels kind of weird. I know what I was going to say. I was going to say that the third book in the series, Enforcer, which is, they're all my favorite, but I really love Enforcer. It's Ryan and Megan's story, and I just found out that is not going to be serialized. So in June, when that comes out, that's just coming out as a book, which is super exciting as well. Oh, hey, Sandra. You're from Massachusetts. That's right. I think I saw you the other night at the Facebook party. Massachusetts got hit with quite a bunch of snow, too, and we're probably about the same inches as you. If you got 15, we're probably right there with you. And I saw somebody there I think they asked what got me into writing. I can't scroll through. What inspired me to be a writer? I kind of always was a writer. I used to put out these like newspapers in our family. I mean, I didn't really stick with it. I think I did it for a few times where I would like do a weekly summation, and so I was always writing like these journal newspapers for the family, and I think I charged people in my family for them, which is rude. And, you know, I was always writing stories and making up stories. And then in college, it wasn't until my senior year, I was in college for photography. And, and I took an elective class my senior year called Creative Nonfiction with an amazing professor named Heather Dune McAdam, who is still one of my good friends and mentors. And that class kind of rerouted my whole life because I just loved it. And I felt at home and at peace when I had my nose in a laptop writing. And that's what did it. Sandra asked, does Sean read all your books? No. He read a couple. He read the first book I ever wrote, Soul Stripper. And it's clearly not his cup of tea. But he's very proud of me. This series, actually, I think he could read and actually enjoy it. And I do have him fact check stuff for me, so he'll read snippets, especially when it comes to the car stuff. And I think there's a scene in Ex-Con, the first book, where Charlie, who's a female mechanic, is fixing something, and there's a coolant leak. And coolant apparently smells sugary. So, like, if you don't see a leak, you can smell it. It smells like simple syrup that you put into your coffee. Who knew? Mechanics, that's who knew. Yeah, so it looks like we're winding down. I'm not seeing a whole lot of other comments, but I just thank you so much again for coming. We had a really good turnout. I always get a little nervous with these things, you know. You go live and it's just like your mom there. Like, hey, Mom. Yeah, so have a great night. I said it earlier, but I'll say it again. The giveaway, the coach giveaway, is that I'm going to leave it open until tomorrow, and then I'll post the winner. And to enter, you have to like my Facebook page and just leave a comment, which all of you here have already done. Bye, Tanya. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much, and have a great night. Bye.